This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Good afternoon, Rabbi. Sefer Daniel, Perek Aleph, Pasuk Tesvav. We just mentioned, we'll remind ourselves, that the Rambam in Hilchos Malachim, Perek Aleph, Halacha Daled, cited Pasuk Yudaled as a nevuah, as a prophecy, that the words of Bnei Paritze Amcha Yenasu Lahamid Chazayin V'Nachshalu, that the open ones, the promiscuous ones of your people, will raise themselves up to establish prophecy. That the Rambam learns is a reference to Yeshu HaNoitzri, because to Yashka, because was there ever a greater paritz, was there ever a greater stumbling block than this false Messiah who caused the trouble and the death of hundreds of thousands of Jews? And therefore the Rambam learns that Pasuk Yudaled is a reference to Yeshu HaNoitzri. Okay, now we're up to Pasuk Tesvav. In the next 10 to 15 psukim, a lot of the commentary is really based on ancient Greek history. So we'll try to tie that into what we're learning. Pasuk Tesvav. V'yavoi melech hatzafain, and the king of the north shall come. V'yishbach soilala, and he will throw up soilala. What is soilala? Says the Mitzudas David. Soilel, he will throw up works of siege. V'lachad, and he will capture Ir Mivtzarais, a fortified city. Uzroyes HaNegev lo ya'amodu, and the arms of the south will not withstand. The Am Mivcharav, and as for his chosen people, V'ein Kayach La'amoid, there is no strength to withstand. Now what in the world is going on here? Okay, so there were constant struggles between the south and the north. The south was ruled by the Ptolemaic dynasty. The north was ruled by Antiochus. Now, Rabbi Walpin over here suggests that this probably refers to Antiochus's almost uncontested sweep through the south of Syria, where he finally stopped, and he reached very stubborn resistance at Gaza. And after a long siege, finally Antiochus was able to conquer Gaza, the fortified city. But in the meantime, the south, the Egyptians, had time to mobilize. But Uzroyos HaNegev lo ya'amodu, the arms of the south will not withstand. What does that mean? At one point, the Egyptians were able to hold off the coming army led by Antiochus. In fact, they hired a Greek general by the name of Scopas for a very high fee. Scopas reconquered Eretz Yisrael, so the south is regaining territory. They're advancing northward. But at the battle of Panian, he suffered a decisive defeat. His army was decimated. He retreated with only 10,000 soldiers, and where he was besieged on land and sea by Antiochus. So Antiochus is heading, conquering southward, the Am Mivcharav. And as for his chosen people, Egypt then sent an army to try to lift the siege, but they were defeated by Antiochus. V'ein kayach la'amoid. V'ein kayach la'amoid.
Is that Alexis that's watching?
And there's no strength to withstand.
Then it's David Reich upstairs.
The angel, this is right, by the way, just remind ourselves, Perek Aleph, this is the Malach talking, this is the angel talking, and the angel is saying that from his point, he's foretelling the future, but in the present tense, as if he's seeing it right now. Okay. Pasuk Tezayin. Ready for this? V'yas haba elav kertzainai. The one who will come to him will do as he pleases. What does that mean? This is talking about Antiochus the fourth. So far we learned about Seleucus the first, Nicator, not nicotine. The Chazar the jokes also, right? Seleucus the first, Nicator, followed by Antiochus the first, Soter, not soda, followed by Antiochus the second, Theos. He was the one who was married to Lyadice. Okay, then Seleucus the second, then Callinicus, then Seleucus the third and his brother Antiochus the third. Now Baruch Hashem, Shechianu v'kimanu v'gyanu l'azman hazeh. We're up to Antiochus the fourth.
Is that the one from
Hanukkah? We'll see. Okay, so V'yas haba ilav, Antiochus the fourth, he will come to the domain of Talmai, and he'll do as he pleases. What does this mean? That means he will take southern Syria. V'yamoy ve'enoi milafanov, no one will stand in his place. Now, when we have this word over here, ve'ein kayach lamoid, the king of the north will do as he pleases. Be'eretz hatzvi. Be'eretz hatzvi, in the land of the north. Eretz Yisrael is called Eretz hatzvi, the desired land, like we have in Sefer Yirmiyahu and Sefer Yechezkel. It's called the land of desire. V'yamod be'eretz hatzvi, Antiochus will stand in the land of desire. V'chala b'yadai, and he will have in his hand annihilation. If he wanted, he could have destroyed the land and its inhabitants. However, he did not want to destroy them. He wanted to keep these lands as part of his empire. Now, Rashi learns, very interesting, Rashi learns v'chala b'yadai is actually he did destroy it. Rashi learns v'chala as haaretz be'al. He destroyed the population in Eretz Yisrael. Now, Rashi, according to Rashi, these psukim that we're referring to, we're talking about Antiochus the fourth, who was in the times of Chanukah. So therefore, those who learn that Antiochus in fact wrought havoc, we are talking about Antiochus the third. Okay. Pasuk Yud Zayin. Okay? V'yasem panav lavai b'toikef kamal chusai. He will set his face to enter the strength of his whole kingdom. Again, v'yasem panav, he will set his face. Lavai to come b'toikef kamal chusai. In the strength of his whole kingdom. Now that he conquered Eretz Yisrael, Antiochus stood at the gates of Egypt, where he wanted to penetrate Talmai's entire dominion. But Visharim imai v'asa, Visharim imai, he will have a straight agreement with him, and he will succeed. Now, what's this talking about? Well, the Rabbi Wolpin explains, based on Greek history, that the Romans were very afraid of Antiochus' growing power. And they were suspicious of his plans. So, the Romans went ahead and took the Ptolemaic dynasty under their control. Herstamaisa, the Romans came along, they took Egypt under their control.
Like today.
Okay.
Carry to make a deal for the Palestinians and Israel.
Nothing good comes from a Balkari. Okay. An emissary by the name of Cornelius Lentulus, not the rooster from Kellogg's Kellogg's cornflakes, but it's somebody else. Cornelius Lentulus was sent from Rome, and he negotiated with Antiochus on behalf of Talmai the fourth. Now, Talmai the fourth was not Talmai the second, Philadelphus, who was the commissioner of the Septuagint, not Talmai the third, Euergetus, but Talmai the fourth, Philophater. Okay? Not Talmai the third, Ergetus, right? But rather Talmai the fourth. And so he had a negotiation. Antiochus figured the time was not right to attack the Romans. he decided to make a peace treaty with Egypt, and in fact he wanted to cement the peace treaty by joining the two dynasties.
How can he make a peace treaty if Egypt was under control of
The Romans.
Yeah.
So he was going to make a treaty with the Romans. How? He was going to give his daughter. Who was Antiochus' daughter? Cleopatra was the daughter of Antiochus, and he was going to give his daughter to the next Talmai, not Talmai the second Philadelphus, not Talmai the third Argatus, not Talmai the fourth Philopator, Talmai the fifth Epiphanes, right? Talmai the fifth.
How many Talmuds were there?
One too many. Right? Talmai the fifth was going to marry Cleopatra, and he figured by giving his daughter to Talmai, he would be able to completely overtake Egypt. However, we're going to see that she was very loyal to Talmai the fifth, and Antiochus was not able to achieve what he wanted. The pasuk continues. V'asa, he achieved. Ubas hanoshim, and the daughter of the women. Yitein loy lahashchisa, he will give to him, referring to who's the him? He was giving to Talmai lahashchisa, to destroy it. V'loy samoid v'loy loisiyah, but it will not abide, it will not remain, and she will not be his. What does that mean? He wanted to destroy Egypt, but v'loy samoid, he will not abide. This plan of conquering Mitzrayim from having given his daughter to them will not be successful. Right? She instead remained loyal to her husband. Now again,
That's supposed to have
But
right?
where comes Anthony in this picture?
Anthony?
He is
Aurelius Marcus Antony?
No, yeah.
He's in Rome.
Is that the same Cleopatra?
I don't know.
I was just wondering.
Ich weiß nicht. Or as Talmai the third would say, Ergatus. Right? That's okay. So they try to form an alliance, right, between Antiochus gives his daughter Cleopatra to Talmai the fifth Epiphanes or Epiphanes, and it doesn't work out. Now Rashi learns that this Antiochus was Antiochus the fourth, against whom the Hanukkah miracle happened, and the Yesharim over here does not refer to a peace treaty, but it refers to Klai. So let's take a look at Rashi. Rashi says, "Vayasein panav melech hatzafain." The king of the north will set his face. Lavoi betoikev kol malchusa shemelech hanegev, to come into the strongest part of the power of the south. V'yisharim imai, with the upright with him. In melech hanegev gam aleim yilachem melech hatzafain ba'osan hayamim. The people of the Yesharim will join up with the Talmais to fight with the king of the north, and they will be successful. Ubas hanoshim yitein loy lahashchisa. Says Rashi, Zu Knesset Yisrael. This refers to Klal Yisrael. Hayafe banoshim, the most beautiful of women. Yitzave melech hatzafa and l'sar tzvay lahashchisa. The king of the north, Antiochus IV, will command his officer to destroy them. Va'omer ani, says Rashi, I say, Shehu Antiochus harasha melech Yavan shegazar gzeres Yisrael. And he commanded his general. What was his general's name? What was Antiochus the fourth general's name? Polyphus. Right? You know, in Xubis, the Baal Polyphus, that was a terrible disease. You know, he was constantly drooling. But this guy's name was Polyphus. Sar tzvay largis kol hakarei shema Yehudi, like it says in Yosiphon. But his advice will not stand. V'lo lo tia. But rather, the beautiful woman Klal Yisrael will establish Matisyahu ben Yochanan, and he will be able to throw off the Greek rule. Okay. Pasuk Yudches. V'yasem panav le'iyim. He will turn his face toward the islands. V'lached rabim. He will conquer many of them. However, the hishbis katzin charpasai Loi. V'hishbis, and it will cause to cease. Charpasai, his anger. Loi, to him. Who will cause it to cease? Katzin. V'hishbis katzan charpasai loi. An officer will cause his anger to cease. Bilti charpasai yashav loi. If for his anger alone, he will punish him. Rabbi say, what is this talking about? He will cast his face to the islands. Which islands? Well, let's see what it says now. It says over here that Antiochus proceeded to wage war against the islands in the Mediterranean, which were under whose rule? Romans. And he made an alliance with Rome's enemy. His name was Hannibal. Hannibal. Right? Not Sean Hannity. Hannibal. Yeah?
That's the guy with the elephants.
Yeah, of Carthage. Yeah? The arch enemy of Rome. And they invaded Greece and they caused trouble to Rome. Now, after marrying his daughter to Ptolemy V, who gave his daughter to Ptolemy V?
I didn't do it.
You didn't do it.
Number 4.
Right? Number 4 gave his daughter to Ptolemy V. At that point, Antiochus III, he crossed the Dardanelles and he conquered Turkey and he fortified his alliance with Hannibal and continuing his alliance on with other forces from Greece. Okay. And then what happened? V'hishbis katzin charpasaylai. Now what does this mean? Literally it means an officer will cause his anger to stop. Which officer is this? Let's see what Rashi says first.
He took up against Rome.
So who stopped whose anger? Who stopped whose anger?
That's insolence. He was chutzpahdik that he actually went against his. He thought he had the.
Yeah, so here it says that the Roman consul Acilius Glabrio, sent by the Senate of Rome to stop Antiochus, they defeated him at Thermopylae. Thermopylae, which was followed by the decisive defeat of the king's fleet at Caricus. Antiochus, so what happened? Rome defeated Antiochus, right? So Antiochus then went back, he crossed the Dardanelles, and he's on the run. He has to defend, whatever land he has in Asia. Now the Romans, under the leadership of Lucius Cornelius Scipio and his brother, good old Publius Cornelius Scipio, a well-known tandem. No?
You say so.
They met him near at Magnesia. They crushed him, and supposedly Antiochus lost 70,000 men. That's more people than we have here today at the Shiur. Right? So Antiochus, he's on his heels. Antiochus is on his heels. But, Bilti Charpasa Yashavlai. For his anger alone will he punish. What does this mean? The territories taken from Antiochus as a result of his defeat were the punishment for his lack of respect and his chutzpah toward Rome.
He wanted to have peace, but he had to pay a big price.
So what happened? Antiochus had the opportunity of making peace with Scipius, provided that he give up his possessions of Europe and part of Asia and pay a lot of money. And Antiochus eventually had a tremendous yerida because of his provocation of Rome, right? He thought he had timed it well. He thought he knew the precise time when he would be successful, not only conquering Egypt, but also in conquering it and conquering Rome. But apparently he mistimed it. He did not have it, begin his conquest at the right time, and because of that he lost his territories. Rashi says, "V'hishbis HaKadosh Baruch Hu es gidufay v'es charpasay sheyimacharif es HaKadosh Baruch Hu." Hashem returned to him, paid him back for his blasphemy against Hashem and against Klal Yisrael. Chumash the Sefer Yosifan, Bahoshivo Olav, Sheiko B'Shchin Ra. He struck down Antiochus with terrible boils. Ba'oidoi Badarach. What? When he was on the road, Shahalach Latzo Yishalayim. And not only did he have terrible boils, his boils were oozing with pus. And he stunk to the highest of the heavens. Ve'esriach v'sarai. And not only that, his limbs fell off. Rashi says, V'nashu evarov. V'amar la'avado ashiva la'antochia. He asked his servants to take him up to Antochia v'lahisvig lavesham ad shameis v'chalayim ra'im. He was in bad shape. He had boils, he had pus, he stunk, his arms and legs fell off, and then, to top it off, he died. Okay. And you know what? Nobody felt bad for him. He brought it on himself. He brought it on himself.
Why?
Because he instigated. It wasn't enough to have Syria. It wasn't enough to have Israel. It wasn't enough to have Asia. It wasn't enough to have Turkey. He had Egypt. He needed Egypt. He needed Roman-occupied Egypt. And that was his problem. Okay. There you go.
But all of them are like this.
Pasuk Yutes. V'yashev panav l'ma'uzei artzai. He will turn his face toward the strongholds of his land. V'nichshal. He will stumble.
I thought he died.
Well, now we're recounting how he died. Right. Okay. V'nafal. And he'll fall. V'lo yimatzei. He will not be found. That doesn't mean he won't be found. If you're dead, it's not so hard to find somebody who's dead. It's not like the guy could run away.
You won't have a mitzvah.
Right? They couldn't even find his remains. In other words, Antiochus is returning back to Syria because, Rabbi say, Scipius told, as part of the deal, Scipius forced Antiochus, he got to pay a lot of money. So Antiochus is headed back to his native Syria to find the people, collect the money. He will stumble and fall. He had to pay off his debts, and it's brought down over here. He made a big mistake of plundering a temple of Bel. The temple of Bel were very holy to the inhabitants of Elamius or Elam, and they got very angry at him, and they decided to kill him. So, in any event, Rabbi say, this guy was in hot water. And not only that, they could not find his remains. Not that anybody would want to find the remains of this guy. Okay. Pasuk Chaf. V'yamad al kanoi. They will rise up in his place. Ma'avir noyesh. Ma'avir noyesh. Heder malchus. Ma'avir noiges. Someone who passes through the passing through of the tax collector, Heder Malchus, is the glory of his kingdom. What does that mean? That means like this. Some people, what are they known for? They're known for their foreign policy. Some people are known for their domestic policy. Some people are known for their military acumen. And some people, the only thing they're known for is taking our money. Right? So the next guy who took his place, his entire glory is the passing through of the noiges, the tax collector. Now who is this? Well, Rashi is going to have to learn this is the successor of Antiochus IV. But if based on the history that we've been learning, we'll speak out first. Antiochus III was succeeded by his oldest son, who is what? Seleucus IV, Philopator. And his reign was very short, but his treasury was depleted by the taxes that he was forced to pay to Rome, and by the war debts accumulated by Antiochus. And the main occupation of his government was collecting taxes, right? Ma'aver noiges, as in the pasuk, la yigais, right? That was the glory of his kingdom. But uviyamim achadim yishaver, his kingdom will break in only a few short days. V'loi ba'apayim, not through anger. V'loi b'milchama, not through war. What is that supposed to mean? Well, after a 12-year reign, Seleucus IV was assassinated by his chief minister. I'm sure you remember his name. Who is the chief minister of Seleucus IV? Heliodorus. And it was not because of anger. The assassination was not because anything Seleucus did, but the guy just killed him. Not because he was angry. He was just in the mood. He just to say he didn't want him anymore. However, Rabbi said, according to the way Rashi is learning, that the previous king that we're talking about was Antiochus IV. Who succeeded Antiochus IV? Well, the successor of Antiochus IV, will let's take a look at Rashi. Let us take a look at Rashi. V'amad al kanoi mavir noiges v'yischazek al basisai behar hamodios. You know who will stand in his reign in the Modian mountain? Matisyo ben Yochanan hamavir noiges yavan. In other words, according to Rashi, Rashi reads this pasuk completely different. Rashi reads this pasuk that it's saying how Matisyo will usurp Antiochus' power, remove the tax-collecting Greek Empire from upon Klal Yisrael. Hadar Malchusai, he is the glory of the kingdom, be Yisrael. Kisar v'gibor yeh, he will be a mighty officer. Hu b'chozarai achrav b'nei hachashmonim uv'yamim achadim yishaver. But unfortunately, the Hasmonean Empire will break after a short period. Like the Ramban writes in Parshas Vayechi, Lo Yasser Shev Yehuda, that the Chashmonam should not have usurped the Melucha. V'loi ba'apayim, not because of any other nation's anger. V'loi b'machama, but internally the Hasmonean dynasty will dissipate. Why? Because Kimehem ubahem asher yikanu Aristobulus v'Hyrcanus advar hamelucha. What happened? Hyrcanus and Aristobulus will fight over the Hasmonean Empire, and eventually it will dissipate internally.
No, this is Rabbi. This Alexander Yonah is Bunim already. Aristobulus and Hyrcanus. And the people like that Aristobulus. Hyrcanus was a chutzpahnik. He went into Rome, and he said to him, "You make me for king, and I'll give you a good place." So the Romans didn't need Eretz Yisrael. They didn't want Eretz Yisrael. It was a poor province. When they came in, they saw, oh, it's a small but it gives a lot of milk. And they remained already. So they make Hyrcanus.
So he provoked them. He brought them upon himself.
For a king, and they started the fight between Hyrcanus and Aristobulus was going on until.
Very interesting.
Alexander Yonah Bunim.
Okay, interesting. Very good. Pasuk Chav Aleph. V'yamad al kanoi nivzeh. There will arise in his place a despicable one. A despicable one. V'lai nasnu alav hoid malchus.
It wouldn't even.
Upon whom they would not give the majesty of dominion. Uba b'shalva, and he will come in peace. Behechzek malchus, and he will maintain his melucha b'chalak lakos, with smooth talk. With smooth talk.
They didn't support him, but he maintained.
Who's this talking about? Well, Rashi is not going to be able to learn this way. Rashi is going to have to learn v'yischazek oz al ma'amadas malchus Esav. Rashi is going to have to learn that now, after the downfall of the Greeks, Rome is going to rise to power. Rashi says, "V'yischazek oz al ma'amada malchus Esav shenemar." We know Esav is called Bazoi. Bazoi atamoi, the Navi Ovadia says. And the Romans are going to take Melucha from the Greeks. That's the way Rashi learns. Because Rashi is already learning that we're dealing in Pasuk Chaf with the downfall of the Chashmonaim. And ultimately the downfall of the Greeks. So Rashi is going to have to learn. Now we're talking about the next power. However, others learn that this is talking about the next line of Antiochus IV Epiphanes, who ascended the throne, who they did not give the glory of kingship. Seleucus IV died. He left a teenage son, and Seleucus IV's teenage son, his name was Demetrius. He was held hostage in Rome when his father died. And
he had a dead father.
he also left a baby son, Antiochus. Okay. What happened? Antiochus IV, when his brother died, he was serving as the general of the Roman forces at Athens. He had been away from Syria for most of his adult life. And he was being held hostage in Rome from the time of his father's defeat at Magnesia. He didn't count on the Syrian forces to support him, but he was able to convince the king of Pergamum to support him. He enters Antioch. He's able to take over the government. And it's brought down over here that some historians conjecture, based on the evidence of contemporary coins and records, that at first Antiochus did not openly declare himself king, which would be the meaning of the pasuk over here, that they did not confirm the glory of kingship. He just assumed the stance of a caretaker, ruling for his underage nephew Antiochus. Now, 6 years after Antiochus Epiphanes' ascension, Antiochus, the son of Seleucus, was killed while Antiochus IV was putting down some insurgency. And Antiochus returns, he has Amirs put to death, but he takes over the Melucha. Okay. Pasuk continues. Pasuk Chav Beis. Uzroyos hashetef yishatfu milafanav yishaveru. V'gam negid bris. The arms that sweep away will be swept away before him and will be broken. And the prince of the treaty as well. Again, Uzroyos hashetef. The arms that sweep away, Yishatfu milfanav, will be swept away before him. V'yishaveru, and they'll be broken. V'gam negid bris, and the prince of the treaty as well. And what does this mean? Let's see Rashi. Uzroyos hashetef, v'giboyrei malchus Yavan, and the mighty warriors of Greece, shahayu milufneim, shotfim chazakim, that in their past they would do the sweeping away, and they were mighty. Miyishatfu milufnei Romim v'yishaveru, they will be swept away from before the Romans. V'gam negid bris, and even the king of Israel, who had sealed the treaty with the Romans, he will also be swept away, because the Romans violated their treaty, and they spread out to Israel. They spread out to Eretz Yisrael, Chumash Chazal, Esrin, B'shis Shnin, Kamu, Behem, Nusayu, for 16 years. They kept their treaty, and then they retracted. Now, after 26 years, the Gemara in Avodah Zarah, Daf Yud says, the Romans broke their treaty with Klal Yisrael. Others learn this refers to the son of Antiochus' sister, Cleopatra, whose name was Talmai VI. Okay? Unbelievable. They keep on going. They never stop, these Talmai guys.
No, wasn't there Talmai the 15th also?
Whoa, you're getting me scared over here. Talmai VI, Philometer, the son of Antiochus' sister Cleopatra, was bound by a peace agreement with him. Talmai V had died. Cleopatra was ruling on behalf of her sons, and Antiochus used his relationship with the queen, his sister, to gain entry to Egypt. Once he was in the country, he plundered and pillaged. Okay. Pasuk Chav Gimel. Umin haschabros elav. Through alliance with him, Yasa Mirma, he will work deceit. The Allah, he will rise up. The Yotzam, he will grow strong. The Mat Goy, with a small nation. He will rise up with a small nation. What is this talking about? Says Rashi, Umin haschabros elav Yasa Mirma. Umin hashutfus sheyishtatif Romi im Yisrael. Rashi learns this is referring to the Roman pact with Klal Yisrael. Yasa Mirma. Rome will be able to act in deceit. Shelo yigala machshavara. Without revealing their bad intentions. Fa'alam imakaymai. They will rise up from his place. V'atzam. They will overpower all the areas surrounding Eretz Yisrael, in Edom, in Ammon, in Moav. And they will not need a large army. They will not need a Chel Gadol. Because they will abuse their treaty with Israel, with Klal Yisrael, to have Klal Yisrael attack the surrounding areas, bring them under Roman occupation, Edom, Ammon, and Moav, and then ultimately they break their treaty. Now, others learn that Antiochus, this is going back to Antiochus, he comes to Egypt, he pretends he's visiting his sister, Cleopatra, he gets into the country, and with a small number, he grows strong, and some even suggest that when Antiochus enters Egypt, he takes over the fortress of Pelagium by trickery, and Antiochus was able to use his association with Egypt to trickily, stealthily conquer Egypt. But again, according to Rashi, this is referring to the Roman treaty with Klal Yisrael, that the Romans abused their treaty with Klal Yisrael, and with a small army they're able to take over the surrounding areas. Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.